What is a required minimum distribution RMD and how do you calculate it? I've got that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. Starting a series here of videos about required minimum distributions. Not sure if you're a daily listener and follower of the Wise Money Show or not, but I'm recording these right at the beginning of the year. And you might think, no, RMDs, required minimum distributions, are for the end of the year. No, they're for right now, because maybe you're new and have to take an RMD for the very first time this year. Maybe there's some planning that you need to do, and you can do that throughout this year instead of right at the last minute. So I'm going to do 5 videos, lumping them together, addressing several basic issues, but then planning issues, frequently asked questions as it relates to required minimum distributions. All right, so this first video, we're gonna hit the basics, and that is, what is RMD, what is required minimum distribution, and then how do you calculate it? All right, so what is RMD? It's a required minimum distribution. So it's a requirement. Yep, that's right. The IRS has said for pre-tax retirement accounts, except for HSAs. So this would be pre-tax 401ks, IRAs, pre-tax 403bs, or SEP IRAs, simple IRAs, all of those accounts where you funded pre-tax and your contribution has received a tax deduction in the year that you've contributed. Again, all of them except for health savings accounts. There's sort of this deal that you make with the IRS, for lack of a better explanation. And that is, well, when you made the contribution, you were able to deduct it on your tax return. Therefore, it's not taxable. That income is not taxable in the year you make that contribution. But the IRS isn't going to have you avoid the tax on those dollars forever. At some point, they say, well, listen, time to pay up. Time for you to, I know we gave you that tax deduction on the way in. Time for you to start pulling some money out. And it's that this required minimum distribution age that it is required that you start drawing some of those dollars out, okay? So a requirement to withdraw at least a minimum amount out of pre-tax retirement accounts like IRAs or pre-tax 401ks, 403bs, those sorts of things. So required minimum distribution. That's the what, that's the why. Now, these have been around, it's been around for forever, okay? Technically, the Tax Reform Act of 1986, but gosh, that feels like forever. And it was originally introduced that this date, this time at which, listen, you've got to pay up, time to report some of this money on your tax return. That original age was age 70 and a half. Therefore, you were allowed to defer withdrawing dollars. You could withdraw if you wanted to from your IRA, but by the year you turn age 70 and a half, and there's a little asterisk there, you had to start withdrawing money, a certain minimum amount, out of your IRA and pre-tax retirement accounts. So it was age 70 and a half, and then every year thereafter. The asterisk is in the first year that you turned age 70 and a half, this asterisk still exists today, by the way, you're allowed to delay or avoid, defer that first RMD up until April 1st of the next year. But then you had to take both the previous year's RMD and that year's RMD all within the same calendar year. Most people chose not to do that, except for some rare planning instances where it may make sense to do. But the year you turn age 70 and a half, you needed to take that required minimum distribution, your first one, and then every year thereafter. Now, like I said, that started in 1986 and stayed the same age all the way up until a law was passed at the very end of 2019, changing the age starting in 2020. Moving that age from 70 and a half, which never made any sense to begin with, to age 72. So starting in 1/1 of 2020, if you reached age 72 at that time or beyond, then that was the age at which you needed to start your required minimum distribution. But then, of course, the laws changed, and a law was passed late in 2022 that moves this required minimum distribution age to age 73, starting right now in 1/1 of 2024. If you turn age 73 this year or beyond, that's when your RMD will start. But then they've in that new law, they've added one more age change, and that is in 2033, that age, that required beginning date, required minimum distribution starting age is going to be moved to age 75. Wow, that's a mouthful. That is a lot. Not all of it's going to be on the quiz, but essentially this required minimum distribution is a requirement to draw at least a certain amount out of your pre-tax retirement accounts. Once you reach a certain age, that age was age 70 and a half, it moved to age 72, now it's age 73, it will soon be 75. Which accounts again? These are pre-tax retirement accounts except an HSA. So your pre-tax IRA, yep. Pre-tax contributions to your 401k, yep. 403b, 457, simple IRA, SEP IRA, yes, 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 yes. What about Roth? No. Roth, any of those? No. There is no required minimum distribution on a Roth IRA. There's no required minimum distribution on a Roth 401k. Used to have one, no longer exists. Roth 403bs, those newly created Roth Simples or Roth SEPs, no required minimum distribution on Roth accounts. Now, what's the big idea and why spend so much time understanding or explaining this and creating even a little mini series about it? Well, because the implication is pretty serious, okay? Or the implications can be pretty serious. What it means is this money that you've contributed into your IRA or pre-tax 401k, those sorts of things, those contributions never landed on your tax return. So they were a deduction on the tax return when you made the contribution. So as you start drawing money out of those pre-tax retirement accounts, it shows up as taxable income on your tax return for that year. And if you need that money, need that income to supplement your Social Security or to maintain your lifestyle, then fine, so be it. But if you weren't planning on drawing any money out of those IRAs, you didn't need it, and now you're required to, well, that's going to show up as taxable income on your tax return. And it's going to have implications. Could push you into the next tax bracket, could cause some or more of your Social Security to become taxable due to the unique rules on how Social Security is taxed. It could cause qualified dividends or capital gains from being taxed at 0% federally to now being taxed at 15% federally. Could cause you to limit or reduce receiving some tax credits, and could have some other ramifications to how much you pay for your Medicare Part B and Part D. That is the income-related monthly adjustment amount. So could cause IRMA potentially. So required minimum distribution, yeah, it's a big deal. You want to know what it is and how it impacts you and how it's calculated, but then lots of other strategies which we're going to get into in future videos. So that is what your RMD is, more than probably what you needed to know. Well, how do you calculate it? Well, for your pre-tax retirement account, you first need to find out what the value of that account was on 12/31 of the previous year. Not on the 1st of December, not in the middle of the year, not at the beginning of the previous year, at the very end, on 12/31 of the previous year. That's the account value that it's going to be measured based on, okay? So you got to start with that number. Then you have to go to the appropriate life expectancy table, for lack of a better term. And you can see here that there's actually 3 different ones that you'll choose from. That will be the right one for you, depending on your situation. The joint and last survivor table, the uniform lifetime table, which is what will apply to most people, and then the single life expectancy table as well. Most people will be using the uniform lifetime tables, but in circumstances, if they change, you could flip over and use a different table as well. The respective table go to the the age that you're turning that year. It will give you a divisor. It will give you a life expectancy number, okay? Therefore, then the calculation is dividing the value of your pre-tax retirement account, that specific account, dividing the value that it was on 12/31 of the previous year, divided by that number, that divisor, that number that the uniform life expectancy table gives you corresponding to your age that you're turning that year. So let's say that on 12/31, your IRA was worth exactly $100,000. If it was exactly $100,000, run out and go buy a lottery ticket, because that is very lucky or unlucky. That is very unusual. But let's say it's that easy. The value of your account on 12/31 was exactly $100,000. And you are turning age 73 right now in 2024. If the uniform lifetime table 3 is the right one for you, you would go to this table. You're turning age 73, so you go to age 73. That divisor is 26.5, so you would divide your $100,000 account value on 12/31 divided by 26.5. That would give you the nice round number of $3,773.59. That's what the minimum amount is that you'd have to withdraw from your pre-tax retirement account. And so you'll have to, if you withdraw more than that, no problem. If you withdraw $5,000, no problem. $10,000, no problem. But you've got to at least withdraw that amount, if not more. Now, what if you have multiple accounts? Well, we're actually going to do an entire video on that very question, because it applies in many situations. But there you have it. That is the basics of what a required minimum distribution is, probably more than what you needed to know, and how it's calculated. Like I said, this is video 1 of a series about RMD, so make sure you tune in to the next 4 videos doing a deeper dive into the most commonly addressed financial planning issues for required minimum distributions. As always, work with your certified financial planner on RMD planning. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.